Ooh, ooh, that felt good. Hey, yay. What? One time, one time for your mind. One time for your mind. One time for your mind. Everybody know who's that. He's black. He's a Jedi Knight. He's Kelleran Black. And Kelleran Beq. So you better run, cause you need the respect. Boy Kane say Grogu told you that we gonna go through anybody Super Saiyan like Goku. Who else wanna get these bars? I don't give a shit. God damn it, who you are, because we here and it's Saturday morning guard and we gon' talk all that shit. Yes, we are, because it's me and the crew. Yay! God damn it, y'all know this is the way. Hey! Now the problem is I be flowing, right? Like I be kicking crazy dope moves and I'll be dropping bars. But when you watch the replay, it sounds like I'm off beat. So shout out to everybody on the replay, man. You know what I'm saying? I promise it sounds better live, so y'all should pull up on Saturday morning. Appreciate everybody who's pulling up on the replay, man. It is the day we discuss the rise of KELLERAN BEQ, baby. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Lord of mercy. Yes, man. You have to talk about all of the things that's going on in the blurred spirit this week. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your boy. There's the real Ben Sailor. We're going to go ahead and get into our headlines for the morning. Yes, one time. Sending shout outs to the homie Steph, who ain't with us right now, but hopefully pulls up. So what's happening, Steph? It's always good to see you. I wanted to send a couple shout outs as well to a few folks we starting to know. One time for the homie Winnie Harlow. Okay, y'all may not know who she is, but she is a big deal fashion model herself. And yo, she says maybe y'all should even watch, because we are a podcast that even she likes to watch. Hallelujah. Sending out shout out to another person. We got Tanya Moody, who is currently in cast and right now literally about to start shooting the second season of The Rings of Power. Yet some of you may have seen her in some of her most recent stuff, such as a movie called The Elements of. There's a bunch of stuff she's doing. I ain't even gonna put it out there like that. And she's also a new member of the new Blurred Order squad. Shout out to one and only Yvette Nicole Brown, who will be pulling up in just a few weeks. Yes, yes, yes. The return of, to talk about all the things that she's doing, and it is a whole lot, believe me. Yo, we got some things to discuss this morning, man. Did y'all know that Good Burger 2 is actually official? Yes, sir. The homies Kenan and Kale are back on the screen, and it's always a good thing. Let's talk about this now. Also, maybe you heard, but Shazam dropped. Did it flop? Did it not? Who knows? I don't know. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't see it yet, but some of us did. One of us did, so we'll talk about that as well. And of course, the one and only KELLERAN BEQ has made his return to the scene of Star Wars. And some of y'all may know that this is not just any old person. He is returning as a returning cast member, and we'll get into the history, into the lore. Let's explore everything and more. One time for your mind, it is your boy, the real Vince Taylor. Let's go ahead and get into it. What's up, Yvette?
I love the new Blurred Order. You should too.
Yeah.
Let me get all this 10p Wayne. All the niggas rapping about the same old thing. I've been coming through with the same old gang. Ain't shit changed except I ain't got a name. Got it out the mud but we got no stains. Cold ass nigga with a gold ass chain. The girl call me daddy, not my government name. Money on my mind, got them bands on my brain. Let me tell y'all about a nigga I know. The nigga stay clean so he always got hoes. Light skinny bitches like.
I love the new Blurred Order. You should too.
You absolutely should. Just in case you didn't hear the first time, shout out to everybody watching live. Please make sure y'all hit that like button, hit that share button, join us on the YouTubes, and comment. We love to hear what you got to say about what we got to say. Of course, it is always a good thing. I am your boy, the real Vince Taylor, reporting live from the Spider-Man cave as always. Yes, sir. And we gonna talk Grogu this morning, but we are joined by none other than the homie Nolly. What up, Nolly? We got Bad Ty in the building. We got Good Ty in the building, and we got Bad Yaz in the building. And we're going to go ahead and chat it up, man, because there's a whole lot going on. What's going on? Shout out to everybody watching on Twitch. Shout out to everybody watching on Twitter. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. Shout out to everybody watching on Facebook. And everybody listening on our audio casts. That includes iHeart, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, so on and so forth. So listen, it's a lot to discuss this morning. I ain't even gonna lie, and I want to go ahead and get directly into it. But before we even start in it, man, real quick, I just wanted to shout out Tanya Grace Moody, who is a new cast member for the Rings of Power. Just recently got casted in the Rings of Power, and she's also now a proud member of the Blurred Click. Hopefully, we get a chance to talk to her. Who knows, man? We just want to send her love. Make sure she knows that she has a friend in us, because we all already know how this go, right? We already know how this go. As soon as you see somebody black in a fantasy, what they doing there? Hoo, it's so woke. XYZ. And so, listen, man, we here to battle them trolls. I'm gonna tell you right now, this one right here is a whole troll slayer. All right, so look, pull up if you want to. All right, we got bars. I don't know, somebody might be working now, so it might be less bars, but still the bars
No,
is
there'll
there.
still be bars.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? When you work from home, you still can look on that phone and see what it is that's going on, man. But yeah, that's happening. And also, man, I ain't gonna lie, this one kind of hit me out the blue when we got the notice that Winnie was like, "Yo, I want to watch this podcast." But I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, listen, the numbers is numbering right now. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to that. And listen, all of us is about to do a lot next week. MegaCon strikes next week. Yaz is already ready. The Amazon package then hit her doorstep. So the cosplay is on fleek. We got Nolly pulling up as well. We're going to be there, I think, 2-3 days. And we also going to be appearing on the Lowdown with James Yan this upcoming Tuesday. Well, we're going to be, we're taping it as when it drops. I think it drops either in the evening or a little later on. But either way, that's not what it is all about. Today, before we start talking about anything, we must talk about this most recent episode of The Mandalorian. I'm going to go ahead and put this up on the screen, and I just want y'all to tell me how y'all felt about it, because I ain't gonna lie, this episode right here almost made me cry multiple times. Good morning, Marissa. Good morning, Vico. Good morning, everybody in the comments. Please make your voice heard. Do not be quiet, because we're here to listen to you. I'm gonna take this down. I want y'all to give me thumbs up if you enjoyed this episode, thumbs down if you did not, and a meh in the middle if you have no feelings whatsoever. I'm taking it down in 3, 2, 1. Oh, dang, hold up. 3, 2, 1. What is that? What is that?
Reindeer hands?
Why all his fingers up?
Are
What is that? All
these jazz hands? What are these?
Fingers?
Spare
Right,
fingers.
okay. I gotta talk about
Horse fingers.
the elephant in the room. I see Tyrone's thumb is like halfway up, and I guess we're gonna do this morning. I guess we're doing it this morning. We're gonna do this morning. Okay. Before we bring in Negative Nancy, let's all discuss why we love the show. Let's go with Nolly. Keep that energy, Tyrone, because I really want to know. I know Tyrone's steadfast. But Tyrone is a representative of a certain mindset that does exist. He's not the only one. I've spoken this before, and I've had differences with Tyrone's opinion about the Mandalorian shows. And then I get into some other people's spheres, and they're like, yeah, I feel the same way. So I'm glad he's here to represent that mindset. As for you, Nolly, what say you about this most recent episode?
It was the cameo for me.
Yes.
As soon as he came on screen, I was like, okay, Bo-Katan, not the only one getting a redemption arc. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Yeah, that was very significant. What about you, Yazzie? What say you about this episode?
I had to pause the episode because I'm not gonna lie, my fiance was like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "That's fucking Jar Jar Binks, bro!" And he was like, "Huh?" Yeah, it was pretty epic. I need to video these moments because it was pretty epic. But yeah, we got to see live action Jar Jar on the screen in the franchise. What's up? Give it to me. And he was saving baby Grogu. So that's pretty freaking dope. I think I like the way the story turned out. I loved it.
Absolutely. All right. Bad time, man. What say you, homeboy? What's your thoughts on the episode?
Now, see, the funny thing is, I didn't even have the backstory, with all of this. Like, I'm watching the episode not knowing who the dude is. All I know is I saw a black dude with dual lightsabers. And I was like, hold up. What's happening? What's happening right here on screen? And not only did he have the two lightsabers, but he gets wicked with them. He don't play no games. He's doing everything you want to see a Jedi do. Like you start wondering, how did everybody in the Jedi Order die really? Because like if you got just 10 of these dudes, like there should be a whole different conversation. But
Yeah, I have an answer for that because I had the same thoughts. But yeah, man. Oh, ridiculous, ridiculous. Now, Tyrone, we'll get your opinion, but Yaz, be ready because I want you to give us one of your famous whole walkthroughs of the episode, if you don't mind.
I got you.
But go ahead, Tyrone. Please, hate away, sir.
Oh no! I mean, no, it was a fun episode. I think it's cool that that Ahmed Best got to kind of come in and do something where people were happy to see him and kind of get that redemption arc. Kind of it was a little bit outside the episode sort of a thing, like the part that gets everybody's emotions. It's just sort of like seeing this actor and seeing him get a chance to redeem himself. It was a cool scene and stuff. I just think the episode was mostly just like some visual effects and fun scenes, and that was about it. And I'm like, it's okay. It could be that. That's fine.
What would have made the episode better?
I mean, there wasn't really much. I still don't know what this season is like. What the hell they're doing this season? For example, this season feels to me like how when you finish a game, you finish a story mode, and then you're just doing side quests and DLC and stuff. That's what this season feels like. So I can't really like. There's nothing really to follow. You just kind of find out what adventure is going to be happening this week, which is okay. But it just, there were things about it that didn't really hit for me, and that's about it.
Such as what?
None of the pterodactyl stuff. Like it's all I was fine with not going into detail, but here we are. I'll go into detail.
Well, that's what this show is. Where will we go into detail if we don't do it on the show?
It out. No, like a lot. Here's what I like lately. The Mandalorians are supposed to be a race of bad, or like a group of just badasses, right? But they have been getting their asses kicked handily every time they're popping up on the screen. I'm like, why is this happening so much? They're losing kids left and right. They was like, oh yeah, when we tried to save the kids, that thing killed them. But they're just like letting the kids outside. Y'all need to stop messing with the local wildlife because it's kicking your ass.
Florida's crazy, man.
It was, and it was, it's fun. We got to see them chase the pterodactyl thing around, and somehow the kid survived in that thing's inside of its body, I guess, for an entire day before it was regurgitated. But who knows? Whatever. I don't know how this thing's biology works and how it digests. So whatever. But there's just like a lot of again, it feels kind of like Clone Wars, Bad Batchy a little bit, and I think that's kind of what they're going for. I think they want to do something that's just more like kind of not necessarily a huge narrative thing for the season, but just let's make some fun episodes and gives people some fun stuff to watch.
Okay, well, what was the narrative in the first season?
The narrative was Grogu shows up, or he's tasked to kill a bounty, finds out that it's Grogu. Now I have this foundling. I have to bring it back to his people because that's part of my creed. It was basically him trying to find Grogu's people. That was basically the first two seasons when you really think about it. And then they closed that story. They closed the arc. He went off into the sunset with Luke Skywalker and ended that beautifully. I think what happened is they kind of just were like, oh shit, we kind of need Grogu to be around still. So we're just going to, pop up and do like little misadventures. And, so that's why it feels sort of like there's not a big overarching thing. We started kind of getting to that with the episode where we were following around the Empire people and, doing a little bit more with the waters and stuff like that. We started getting a little bit of a story, and then they went away from it, which I think they did on purpose.
Okay, so the storyline isn't hitting for you. I know this is a theme with you. You have been consistent about being a storyline person, so to speak, that is more into the story arc rather than the badassery, as we would call it, that we see on the screen. So this is consistency. I'm not gonna knock that. We all have our opinions.
But honestly, I kind of wish there was more badassery. I feel like they're just kind of making like, Ahmed Best. He had some badass moments. It was awesome watching him wield lightsabers and kick the shit out of the clones and that kind of thing. That was a cool little scene. But not seeing a lot of Mandalorian badassery these days. I mean, they're just kind of barely getting by, and that was so silly. I'm sorry, it's so silly, but yeah, they're just like kind of barely getting by. I would like to see more badass Mandalorians. I think we just need to like follow around Bo-Katan for a few episodes and watch her kick some ass because she's been not the only one who's handling her business.
Yeah, Bo-Katan is definitely that's I guess where you and I are at a point of disconnect because I see hella stories in this season. I just don't. Maybe the story arcs aren't sufficient. But the story arcs this season are I'm gonna make up a term, and I'm gonna coin it intra-Mandalorianal.
So that's a mouthful.
All right, we're intra-Mandalorianal. All right, I said it. Don't look it up. It's not on Wikipedia. And I guess that what I'm saying is that it's the story arc is left from us doing the whole entire Pedro Pascal save the cheerleader, save the world thing because that shit can't last forever. All right, and now it's a matter of save the arc, save the art of the Mandalore, and we're revitalizing the entire Mandalorian culture to integrate the Kryze family, which was a royal family on the Mandalorian spectrum, with the Children of the Light, which are considered like the religious kooks, so to speak, of the Mandalore. So perhaps that story in itself just isn't enough. I mean, we've already gotten. I think it's funny because in this episode, Nali was kind of was referenced. I don't know if you saw that, but last week when we had our after show, Nali was like, why she didn't tell him about the mythosaur? You know what I'm saying? And so she brought up the mythosaur this week, and she was like, well, of course you're going to tell him about the mythosaur. And they're going to be like, yeah, bitch, it's a myth. and Nali, that's what happened.
What I said, I was like, she going to tell her when she's alone.
Yeah. And legit, like, it's exactly what happened. Like, it's almost like you had the notes for the show because literally Bo-Katan has a moment with the armorer where she's like, yo, so has anybody ever seen, like, what if I told you, in a Jeffrey Wright the Watcher-esque type of moment, what if I told you that I actually saw the mythosaur? She'd be like, oh, well, I'd say you were, I mean, listen, hey, look, we all see shit when we touch the water. You know what I'm saying? She's like, what if I told you, like, I legit saw the mythosaur? She's like, oh, bless your heart. This is the way. like that, this is the way was like a bless your heart. Did you feel like she was like, she's like, but I did see the mythosaur. She's like,
so wild to me. So wild because the one bitch who's always like, follow the creed, follow this, bathe in the living. Bitch, you want me to bathe in living waters, and you got a whole mythosaur skull up in your wall, but you're not gonna believe someone when they said they saw one?
Yo, it was hilarious to me. I could not stop thinking about what Nali had said because it literally happened. Like she's like, yeah, it's a myth. We get it. It's a myth. Yeah, you saw the mythosaur. Aw, you know what I'm saying? Did you see a bush burning up there, Moses? Aw, that was just cute. You know what I'm saying? Like, that moment was hilarious. But
to your point though, I do like Bo-Katan's sort of thread that's happening here. Whenever they do give her whenever they do give her screen time and give her story time, like it's her, her sort of embracing of this culture she's had no respect for, and kind of like falling in line and stuff like that is interesting, and I like, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. But and I would say that's probably one of the stronger elements of the show right now is Bo-Katan and what's going on with her.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, we're also learning that the Mandalorians, they train on New Smyrna Beach, evidently, and for whatever reason, they want to sit there and keep on being in the open, where clearly these creatures, the indigenous, are trying to tell y'all, listen, homeboy, y'all ain't gonna gentrify the fuck out of this beach. This shit don't belong to you. This is national forest. You know what I'm saying? Y'all need to go ahead and quit pilgrimizing our freaking beaches. What's up, Yaz?
Can I interject? They were shooting at the water so that the alligator wouldn't come back at them. So I'm just saying they were, they weren't thinking about like, the aerial attack. They were thinking about the water attack at that point.
But they said that they had already lost kids.
And but if you think about it, Bo-Katan is the only one that's actually like trained. You know what I'm saying? Like all of them are training. You know what I mean? Like all of them are training. That's like what they're doing. Like,
I don't know if I take a little issue with that. Bo-Katan is the only one who's been out there leading packs, who's been a fighter, who's had squads underneath her belt, who's of royalty, who's got enough time to sit there, kick back, and watch Netflix in her castle all day. Meanwhile, everybody else is freaking on the beach training up younglings. You know what I'm saying? I don't know whether or not, I mean, I don't know whether or not these all of these Mandalorians have seen action. I don't know which ones are in training. I mean, clearly Paz Vizsla is like Mandalorian practically royalty. I mean,
Yeah, he's like a legend, but also very useless in this
Yes.
season.
Sound bad.
Well, if it wasn't for him, I mean, evidently we wouldn't have Mr. Ragnar. Shout out to Ragnar, who
Points
also
for fucking.
Wesley.
yeah, man, he gave us a whole episode one time for Wesley Bill Kimmel's nephew. If I'm not mistaken, I think I may even have a quick clip that kind of goes into a little bit of history of Ragnar. For those of y'all who did not watch last week, check us out.
My little brother and his wife, they have a son who's 13 and he's in The Mandalorian. Yeah, there he is, Wesley. When they like zoom to the kid who's standing in the water and then they put the helmet on him.
Oh, listen, I think you must not know who the fuck we is. Yeah, we definitely know little Wesley.
There he is. He's the dust.
All right, I don't want to go too much. It's already probably too much music, but fortunately we use that for the intro, so hopefully it doesn't cancel us. But we didn't use the footage, all right? So Disney gods, calm down, all right? We still there. But yes, this was Wesley, and he came back out, and Wesley hasn't learned yet to stay the fuck away from the shore. Because every time he gets close to the shore, Big Beast comes up. This little dude must be the tastiest of mammals on the fucking beach. Because every time he gets close to the beach, the freaking, some big ass creature jumps out. But to kind of contest a little bit and understand, Tyrone, this ain't about you. It's fun to have differences in opinions. So this is not me coming at you. But to kind of come at this notion that there's no story arc, I think what we're learning here is what the Mandalorian creed entails. Like we've known what the Mandalorian is, but we don't really know how he becomes the Mandalorian. And what we're learning in this season is like what he may have gone through as a foundling. You know what I'm saying? What it is, training that they do, that they tend to as Mandalorians. And in this particular episode, we got to see it in action. I mean, basically, Grogu gets put out to, he gets put in the bull in the ring. I don't know if any of y'all ever played football. I know, Ty, you're a sports guy. But I mean, when we used to play football, they used to do this thing called bull in the ring. And bull in the ring is where they put you in the middle, and then every team member gets a number, and then you just have to you get the ball, and then whoever it is just runs out and just tackles you, and you just got to take it. You know what I'm saying? It's like conditioning or whatever. And so in this episode, we get to see, oh my God, we get to see baby Grogu get put to the test by the Mandalorian creed and the rest of the younglings. And I ain't gonna lie, if there was one scene in here that was cringe, it was watching them kind of toss the little baby doll. Every time Grogu jumps, I'm like.
Also, like, what are the rules of this game? Because like Grogu was standing still. I guess dude could have just shot him 3 times in a row and been like, I win. But they were like, one shot, point, and then like Grogu gets 3 shots off, and I guess that's just okay. I'm like, this is so silly. And yeah, the flipping and stuff like that, it was a little tough. I was like, it's one of the things where I'm like, okay, I think I have to reset how I watch this show.
Yeah, anytime Grogu moves, honestly, it's always going to be looked at like this one, Macro from the Gremlins. What's up, Ty?
Now, I was gonna say, like, as far as the rules go, I think the judge basically said that you can shoot in any order, the darts in any order you want to shoot them in. The young boy shot him one at a time because he underestimated Grogu. Yeah, so he just took his time with him, like, you can't do nothing. He's too little to play. He already underestimated him.
I don't think he's gonna make it through training. He's not. I don't think little Ragnar's gonna make it through training, man. He's not. He hasn't been showing his best self.
Technically, though, he's got serious survival skills, though. I'm just saying, like, he got eaten by a pterodactyl. He got kidnapped, eaten by a pterodactyl, regurgitated, lived through it. Just saying. He got attacked by an alligator, lived through it. Just saying. And he had to fight baby Grogu, and he, like, you know, like, was trying to be humble, you know what I'm saying, and got his ass kicked. So he's a survivor, you know. He's learning, you know what I mean?
I think it's very kind of you to see it this way, and that's very nice. I think that's you're a kind person, Yaz, and that's beautiful.
well, listen. I mean, to add to that point, what Ty was saying, remember, like Ragnar, despite the fact that he is bait, basically, he's literally like fish and tackle in a box. This dude was killing everybody on the goddamn on the training sphere. Like he was sitting there going one after one after one, and like dudes was coming up to him, and he was point. All right, you're the winner. That's why he felt so much like a badass. He was sitting there right before Grogu went up. He had beat some other kid. You know what I'm saying? And so he was like, and then Mando's like, all right, man, I'm gonna go ahead and put my man up to the table so you can go ahead and get him a little lesson in. And right when they start putting him up against him, the first thing he says, he's like, yo, he's too small. He's like, he's good. He's like, what about his helmet? He ain't even got no helmet. You know what I'm saying? He ain't even from Acorn. You know what I'm saying? From Senate. All right, y'all don't see something. Anyway, I mean, and Mando's like, look, bro, you got this, man. You chill. Now, mind you, the whole time he's sitting there interrupting Grogu because Grogu's over there minding his business, you know, got rocks, you know, flying up, you know, he's like sitting there doing the force thing, you know what I'm saying? And then his pops comes over, he's like, yo, enough of that force shit. You know what I'm saying? He's like, all right, we get it. You can move rocks.
Was he actually using the force, or was those were like some type of crab or snail or whatever?
Float.
Yeah,
right? He was making them
They
float.
were crabs.
No, they were just moving across the sand because they're actual animals, not rocks.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was probably gonna eat it. Did you see the way he was looking at it?
meditating.
He was trying to
Oh,
eat
he's
that.
most likely very hungry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you paid attention, like I'm gonna tell you one of the things that stood out to me about this episode that I thought was really good. Because we all know that Grogu drives the Mandalorian show. Like he's been the driving force in the show now for what three seasons, and he will continue to be. But what I noticed in this episode was we got to see emotional reactions from Grogu, like real emotional reactions. When he was sitting on the sand and those what you call rocks started moving, his reaction was that of surprise. Like, what the fuck is going on? Oh, and as they got closer to him, if you paid attention, he stood up like, what the fuck is going on? like I'm not doing this. These things are moving by themselves. As when he got into the match, when then just put him in there for the match, his reactions to being shot was that of a child, and he looked back to Pops like, what do I do now? Like, I don't know. These reactions are reactions that we're now seeing we can interpret as real him understanding things. Like he's developing more than just a child now. He's starting to become an adult, but he still looks like a child. So we'll always look at him like, oh, he's so cute. When he did the flashback, when he was with the armorer, the whole flashback scene, those reactions that we saw, look, that right there in itself, you can see like fear, and you can see like pain and hurt, and all of these things are registering with now with the viewer from Goku. I mean, not Goku, but Grogu of Goku. But I think that for me stood out a lot. Even in this scene when he received his first piece of Beskar.
First.
I was gonna say that it's just
you're right. He's got the chainmail, so he already had that. But what I'm saying is, like, this is like him receiving this from the armorer as a Mandalorian. You know what I'm saying? Like you're a foundling within the Mandalorian creed and all of that. We're now accepting you into what we're doing. And this is what I'm seeing the whole season. I think the whole season is based upon him becoming a Mandalorian and a Jedi. That's what the whole season is leading up to. So when I hear Like it just doesn't make, like it's going all over the place. Nah, I think they have had sub topics going on within the storyline, but the storyline is the same. This whole season from the beginning has been Din teaching the Mandalorian ways to Grogu, and that's what it's continuing to be, is him learning the Mandalorian ways. At the end of the season, I think we're going to see him, be a Mandalorian.
And you're naming things that have existed and have happened, but I don't think that these things are necessarily making a good story. I think these things are just kind of like happening, so we can say, oh, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. But it's not like it doesn't ring hard for me personally. It doesn't really like I feel nothing when I'm watching this show now. When I used to watch Mandalorian first 2 seasons, I used to feel stuff. I used to be like, oh shit, like here we go, we're doing this thing. Right now I'm not really feeling much, so I'm just kind of like watching, just kind of a visual effects extravaganza. So and this is my opinion. I just whatever little remnants of the story.
You know what your opinion, Tyrone.
Yeah, but it's like it feels, and I'll reiterate what I said earlier, where it feels like we finished the game and now we're just doing like some DLC stuff and some side quests. It doesn't hit like it was hitting, because I honestly I think the best thing they could have done is moved on from Grogu a little bit and just kind of like separate us from that and actually go into like Mandalorian stuff, even if it's through Bo-Katan or it's through Din Djarin or whatever. But that loop being closed so well, only for it to be completely undone by the Book of Boba Fett, I think ultimately just kind of affected the show negatively.
Oh, hold on. It wasn't undone by the Book of Boba Fett. Hold on, wait. It wasn't undone by the Book of Boba Fett. It was undone by Luke giving Grogu a choice. And Grogu took that option and he went with Pop Dukes. This wasn't Boba Fett stepping in. This is
no. I say it was done. It was undone by the Book of Boba Fett. It was undone by the show. I'm not saying that. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, those things happened. I don't think it was good. I don't think it was a good choice. I think doing that in Book of Boba Fett was ultimately bad for the show. But I'm not saying it didn't happen the way you said.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean that did happen in the Book of Boba Fett series, but I mean some would argue that was the Mandalorian intercepting the Book of Boba Fett's already terrible storyline, especially according to folks that are in your camp, and actually providing something that was more interesting. But listen, I can get on board with you a little bit about the IG-11 story concept and them trying to revive him when it may not have necessarily been necessary, even though I still think that there's some credence to him needing to have some droid, that
they
he
themselves
it's kind of his
took
thing.
all that off the table. Like that's not even up for debate anymore. They were just like, yeah, we didn't need any of that.
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, it's not the end of I still think that IG-11's coming back. I still think that they brought him back, and they'll probably circle back to him at some point in time. I don't think that they just did that. I think, remember, he took him to the to all the little Babu Freak joints, and they was working on him. And they was like, baby, it's no good, baby, it's no good. What's up, Ty?
Yeah, like I think what we're forgetting is why they're even where they're at right now. So. I mean, Din's whole thing was that he wanted to become a Mandalorian again and follow the creed. He's done that. Now, they could have left, but they haven't. Why is that? Because Bo-Katan needs an army. That's why they're there. They need an army. These Mandalorian that are training on this beach are doing just that. They're training. A lot of them probably, like you said, Vince, haven't seen any combat. This is a whole training ground for Mandalorians to become true Mandalorians. You have like maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 probably head dudes, and then the rest of them are like cadets. And then you got the younglings who are like the next generation.
I'm going to interrupt real quick because that kind of goes against what we know. Like you can't just decide you want to be a Mandalorian. Where are they finding all these cadets? Like I have been reading this as these are Mandalorians that are left from the Purge and the last several or a couple decades of running around and hiding and this kind of thing. They've been hiding underground and that sort of thing. I don't see they have foundlings, but you don't just have the Mandalorians don't recruit. There's not like a recruiting department or and they're not just like, hey, anybody who wants to join, come on in, we'll train you and stuff like that. That's not how it works.
I mean, you're right, Tyrone. But so So what do you think, that because you are a Mandalorian, people don't have sex? I mean, Paz obviously has a child that is there with him. I mean, it could have come with them from there, but I mean, they could have. Some of them could have had kids, and they.
Yeah, I mean, evidently that happens. We've seen at least one of them, and we know that others have died. So that that's that is a thing. But
yeah, I mean, that's not one of the parts of the storyline that they're like going to go really deep in, like, oh, there's whole relationships and all that. But I'm just saying, my point that I'm saying is this whole situation, it looks like a setup for her to get her army. She has now been accepted by this contingent of Mandalorians, as opposed to how she was viewed before when she was taking off her stuff. And it seems as though she's starting to maybe be indoctrinated into the fold, because she's saying the things back. This is the way, and all of that. Like, just to hear her say that is like,
that part's interesting. I do want to ask, and I may have missed it, but like, where the whole she's trying to get an army together thing. I don't know where that's coming from, and again, I may have missed it.
Maybe the last episode, because when from the time that, well, not the last episode, the episode before that, and the last episode, the first thing he went to her for, remember, then before he went to Mandalore, was to go to Mandalore. He said, "Where's your army? Everybody left me when they found out you had the dark saber." So he left and went to Mandalore. She went to save him and retrieve the dark saber. So now she has the dark saber.
I think there's a little extra work that you're doing there, because what the show showed is that he went to her for permission to go to Mandalore, not anything else. And then she saved him because Grogu came. It didn't really have anything to do with the darksaber. She doesn't want to just have the darksaber handed to her.
No. You missed what I said. I said he asked her, "Where is your army?"
Right. That was just like conversation. Yeah. Okay. Why are you sitting here alone in your castle? Yeah. That wasn't a plot line.
But again, you're not letting me finish. And you're missing what I'm trying to say. The fact that he brought up where's her army, and she said they left me because I don't have the dark saber. And then when she went to go save him, and she retrieved the dark saber, which is now in her possession.
No,
it is in her possession.
No, it's not. No, remember, to get the dark saber, you have to challenge for it, and you have to beat the person you challenged who had the sword. She did not challenge Din Djarin. She used it briefly to save him. That is it. And she's just a badass wielder. She did not challenge him for the sword back, so it's still Din Djarin.
I thought she had it.
No, she had it for a moment because she needed it to beat that shit that was drawn.
So you guys are saying you've seen him with the dark saber since that episode?
He gave it back to him.
Listen, she also had Baby Yoda for a second. That don't mean Baby Yoda belongs to her.
No. I'm curious. No, I'm curious. So you guys saw her give him the dark saber?
When he got up, she gave it back to him when he was like getting it. After she helped get him the blood back and stuff like that, she gave him all his stuff back. And it's like she gave him the sword.
He hasn't used it since.
He don't know how.
Yeah, he's not like wielding it and throwing it around or anything like that. But yeah, she, he tried to give it to her before when they arrested Moff Gideon, but she was like, "It doesn't work that way. Sorry, I can't take it from you."
Yeah, she goes by that, at least in terms of the lore. That's one thing she abides by, and that's one thing that unites them as Mandalorian. What's up, Nolly?
Yeah, she definitely abides by it because remember, she carries that guilt because of, in Clone Wars with when she was given the darksaber and then she was part of the whole Civil War and everything, and then everything went to shit. She feels that it happened because she didn't honorably receive the darksaber. It was gifted to her. But I also agree that she's falling in line with this whole clique because remember, she just lost her castle and shit. We still don't know who came after her, who sent all those people. So I'm sure she's got some ulterior motives, like, let me get in with them and maybe they'll help me figure this shit out. I'm totally down with it. But I have a question.
What it do?
Okay. So I'm all for safe sex, but do they wear Two
I
helmets?
literally
Because I have I've seen it with helmets on.
Bro, so like obviously there
There's no
it's
kissing
not
involved.
a spiritual connection. It's more just like making a babies kind of thing.
Yeah,
'Cause
like,
they have to gut away from each other to eat. You know what I'm saying? So like, how could they be like getting busy with
It's
like,
like
you know,
a
in your
business
armor? You know what I'm
transaction.
saying? You got heads clinking and shit. Like, you
Just
know what I'm
butt
saying?
naked with helmets on. That's the way to do it.
Right? Yeah, I mean, you just can't you just can't take the helmet off. I mean, they didn't say nothing about the rest of your uniform.
Well, I mean, you know what? Damn. So the helmet on top, no helmet on bottom, is what you're saying. Is
Yeah. And he's like, and then he's like, don't look at me while I eat.
Yo, because I mean, like, I'm wondering, like, if you're swiping through Mando Tinder, you know, do you like look at the dopest helmet? Like, are you what are your qualifications? You know, are you looking like, oh,
the shiniest best car?
He's like Mandalorian. Here goes Paz Vizsla. His profile is like, yeah, you know, I like to work out on the weekends. I enjoy long walks by alligators on the beach. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you say when you're trying to get a date and you can't even take off your helmet? I mean, it's a whole thing. But I don't know, man. Maybe he was brought into the creed before he had his son, and then he had. I mean, he had his son, and then he became. But it doesn't make sense because
young.
He's like
I'm there with Tyrone. If I mean, they could be from Mandalore. They could all have come. My whole point though was if you look at if you just because I do pay a lot to body language and everything like that. And Bo-Katan, as she was walking through the camp, if you notice how she was walking through the camp, obviously she has a helmet on, but her body language is that of a captain that's kind of just reviewing her reviewing her.
Yeah, you're right.
And like seeing what what the progress is and who's good at what and who's they. That's what I saw. And everything in this episode was letting you know that she's already establishing herself as somebody who's looked to for guidance and leadership. She's already been like that. You get to sit by the fire tonight. You're rewarded because you were the war chief and you led this thing. So you get that. She gets back to the armorer. Thank you for you did the highest honor amongst Mandalorians. You saved the foundling. You get some new armor and you get to pick what you want to put on it. Everything is right there set up. All she got to do is not take off her helmet. That's all she got to do. So I'm just looking at it from where the next episode could possibly go. And it will, I think, at some point circle back to the droid. And I think they were supposed to go get something, and I don't know if they got it. If they got whatever it was that they needed in order to get the droid. So nobody said anything about that. Because didn't he go over there to get something for the droid? Didn't he need something for the droid?
He went to Tatooine to talk to Amy Sedaris' character, and he was like, "You got this memory circuit?" And she was like, "Nope." And that was the end of that.
Yeah, it was like, for what? I got R5.
She was like, "Yeah, take this dude," and he was like, "Okay."
And R5 was like,
"Yeah."
Anybody going there?
No, don't take me.
You know what I've been through. And yeah, he went out there and went into the little cave and was like, "Oh shit! All right, I'm going to go ahead and power down, and I'll leave this up to y'all." But to Ty's point, I believe that this is the arc, and also keep in mind, like there have been these in a lot of shows that we've watched. Sometimes there's this play on words, right? Like when we first started watching The Walking Dead, I don't know about y'all. When we first started watching Walking, all right, yes. Yes, it's not all right. But when we first started watching The Walking Dead, we all were under the impression that The Walking Dead was obviously the zombies, was the people that they were, the stuff that keeps Yaz up at night. But when you get to the end of the seasons, you learn that The Walking Dead is actually about the people. The people are the Walking Dead. You know what I'm saying? The ones that are surviving. Michonne, Rick, Coral, you know what I'm saying? Carol, Daryl. They end up being the Walking Dead. Same thing for The Last of Us. The Last of Us, we're thinking, all right, well, The Last of Us is obviously about the last people on Earth and all of that. But the more you watch, you start to think like, holy shit, like The Last of Us might just be freaking Ellie, and maybe, I mean, don't spoil it. I know, Nolly, but maybe even Joel. And so what we're learning in this episode and this season is possibly we all the time we're sitting there thinking that the Mandalorian is about Din Djarin, but the Mandalorian might be about Grogu. The Mandalorian might be about Bo-Katan. Who knows who the Mandalorian is? Just because the first 2 seasons were about Din Djarin's quest towards Grogu and him being saved and him getting the dark saber unintentionally doesn't necessarily mean that the Mandalorian is only Din Djarin's story. And I think in this particular season, what we're learning is that the Mandalorian storyline stretches beyond one Din Djarin, and they're trying to expand the universe. So even if Din Djarin doesn't even make it through the season, there's other Mandalorian folk that can actually pick up that mantle. So I think that perhaps we should look beyond Din Djarin as being the only one who can be referred to as the Mandalorian, because technically Bo-Katan is the Mandalorian now too. And at some point in time, even Grogu, even though it's going to be difficult to see him with ears sticking out of his Beskar helmet, could potentially be the Mandalorian. So it's not just about him saving him, it's actually about the Mandalorian. So hopefully we see where that goes. But I do get your point. I mean, I completely disagree, because I think that this episode was Star Wars for me. It was the embodiment. It was the perfect embodiment for me in terms of Star Wars. Shout out to Carl Weathers for directing the episode, because I think he did something that is so coveted in this universe. And that is that he gave redemption to multiple characters in this show. We not only saw, like I said, Bo-Katan, I got you, Ty. We not only saw Bo-Katan start to come around. When, remember, I loved that scene. Oh my God, there was no better. Look, in season 2, when both Boba Fett came up to the table where they was in that bar and there was the 3 Mandalorians, and he was like, "My dad said, oh, you mean your sperm donor?" You know, your little daddy. You had your little daddy, your little sperm donor or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then baby girl from WWE just completely took him out, like without no, like you the post. I thought, this is your king. This is your king? The dude with no helmet? I mean, the dude that's coming out here trying to talk to us, who's a fucking clone? It's because his daddy got his head chopped off by Mace Windu. And now you're going to come here, oh, my daddy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I love that aspect of it. But in this particular scene, in this particular show, it wasn't just about the redemption that Carl Weathers was able to direct and show how Bo-Katan was a redeeming member. It was really, for me, all about the scene that we saw where Grogu gets a flashback when he's sitting there with the armorer, and the armorer's like, yo, man, if you're going to be a Mandalorian, which again, this is the way, this is the show as we learn, because they're world building, which is why they had this episode in Boba Fett, which is also why we have Bo-Katan from Clone Wars, and dare I say, we're probably going to see some crossover, which we already have in Bad Batch, which we have not talked enough about. Jesus, that show is on fuego. I'm not gonna lie.
What? What?
Yes, I am so sorry. The first season
finale was crazy. The season finale was like, woo.
This season right here is not the first season, bro. And look, I'm just telling you, like,
the second season is better than the first season.
This season is giving.
I do want to point out, I think that when we disagree, mostly it's because y'all set action at a very high value level, right? That's the when y'all get a lot of action, that shit is exactly like me. I'm like, okay, action cool, but like, why are we doing it? And that's like my whole thing is the why, and I just don't think there's enough of why right now. So I'm like, when I'm watching, I'm like, okay, that's cool and that's fun, but right now there's just not enough why for me.
Well, we get it. What's up, Ty?
No, I just wanted to kind of piggyback off what you had said earlier. Like the first 2 seasons kind of was about Din, and then I think everybody in the head offices realized that Grogu was a star, and that this star was so big that we needed to like really zero in on him, because this is what's going to drive the show. And they're right. Like there's like, you literally can, every time you look at this little dude, whatever he does, he's just the cutest little thing that you've ever seen on television. And when you see those moments, like what you were just describing, where he's doing a flashback, and you start seeing that this little dude's been through some trauma. Like he's been through, like to have to, like, this is all when you might think, you might really look at him like a baby. He probably really was a baby then. You know what I'm saying? Like 100 years ago or however long ago this was. You know what I'm saying? But to see that and then also understand that he's developing and he's growing and he's learning how to a whole another way of living with the Mandalorian way. You know, I think that story in itself, everything else, like I said, is subtopics. You know, you got the Bo-Katan, but this is also from the school of Feige, isn't it? This is all coming from the school of Feige.
No. This is Favreau and Filoni. This is
Feige is Marvel.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is Favreau has been under Feige over at Marvel. Like the concepts and the thought processes in things come from people that you surround yourself with. And so that what I'm saying is his whole thing is he's building a universe. That's what he said in an interview. He said he's basically been saying that his whole thought process is he wants this to be like Marvel, similar to Marvel. He wants a universe, and he's trying to build that. And I think with all of the subtopics that are within this show, with the Bo-Katan storyline, because you mentioned that the three people that were in last season, the three other individuals she was with, they still exist. So at some point, we're gonna have to see them again. So you know, like all of these things are, I think, when it comes to action, when it comes to this show, we love it because it's action. We love it because it's fun. You don't take a character like Grogu and then make everything so serious. Like he's not Yoda. He's Grogu. You know, Yoda was a grown man. You know what I'm saying?
I've also said it was fun and full of action. I needed to reset the way I watched this show. The show has changed to where it's now okay. It's just like it's more eye candy than anything else.
The show hasn't changed. The story has changed. That's the only thing that's changed, and I think that's the issue. And let's just keep it real. Like, and again, sometimes I gotta preface this because it feels like we piled on to Tyrone, and it's not the case. It's Tyrone represents a mindset, and he is not the only one. We've spoken with some of Tyrone's colleagues, and I've spoken with people outside of the show, and they feel the exact same way as Tyrone. They're like, look, bro, I don't know what happened. So it's not about him, but it's also about the fact that, listen, this says it all. Look, when we talked about our favorite Star Wars movies, I've said time and time again that Return of the Jedi, ROTJ, will hold up the highest mantle in my house. And Tyrone has said that Rogue One is his favorite.
I've always maintained Return of the Jedi as my favorite movie.
Oh, you did? Oh, shit. Well, Rogue One is in close second or third or something like that?
Rogue One is a great movie, but I don't know if I've ever really ranked it. But Return of the Jedi is my favorite.
Okay, so the reason I love Return of the Jedi is because, like I said, I saw it in the theater as a child. I remember that green lightsaber lighting up, coming on the screen. Mm-hmm. All of the action, all of the creatures, all of the Force, the dynamics between father and son, everything that makes it interesting to me are all of those elements, and each and every last one of those elements exists in this week's episode. We got a green lightsaber, we got a father and son dynamic, we also got the Force, we got big creatures, like they're all there. I think what's missing in this particular season is the actual definition of an antagonist, and we don't necessarily know, like Tyrone says, what is it like. In the first one, there was constant, there was tension because, or anxiety and what's going to happen.
Yeah, the guild was trying to kill Grogu.
Moff Gideon, you know what I'm saying? There was, okay, what's going on? They're trying to get this little kid, and it was a matter of trying to kind of evade all of these forces that are trying to come towards little baby Grogu. It's also like, all right, well, does Mando decide to go the way of the Mandalore and keep the bounty, or does he decide to become Pop Duke's Pedro Pascal and then end up doing the stepfather thing, and that's what and so we learned that. And I think that the conclusiveness of that, the finality of that decision makes it difficult. And I think that that's why Tyrone liked the first two, because those storylines were more interesting. I think that in this instance, the storyline just isn't hitting for him because it's not in that same spirit where it's intense. And I mean, keep it real. That fucking scene where Luke pulls up in the caddy, the X-wing caddy, you know what I'm saying?
That was real. Yeah, that hit hard. Yeah.
That like I lost my shit. I had to change my diaper after that freaking episode.
I was over
And
there.
but to my point, this episode brings me that. Now again, I'm not trying to sell Tyrone. Tyrone is a hard, he's on this hill, and I'm not trying to take him off of it. But in this particular episode, this is exactly what Star Wars is to me. It's the Force, it's lightsabers, it's the character arc of father and son. And here we have little Grogu, who is actually giving us a depiction of what it meant to be like behind the scenes of Order 66. And to kind of want to tie questions earlier, he's like, yo, well, how the fuck, if these Jedi's is so bad, how they get wiped out? Well, the reason they get wiped out is because it wasn't just any old enemy that was coming for them. It was the clone army that they had been standing alongside this whole time.
Yeah,
So it's not just an enemy that you pull up to and you're like, oh shit, all right, we ready for war. It's the dude you're standing next to that you're going to war with turning to you. And remember, one of the scenes in the Revenge of the Sith, there actually was one of the Jedi's who has the head tails. Like she was leading a pack of clones, and she was like going through the war. It looked like they was on Kashyyyk, on Karsh. What's Chewie's planet? Kashyyyk. All right, and she was like looking through the forest, and she turned around, and they were all aiming at her, and she was like, "What the fuck?" And she tries to fight, but she can't. Same thing's going on here. Like they're fighting people that they basically trained with, and then to our surprise, they're saying, "Get him to Kelleran. Get the youngling to Kelleran." So you see Grogu now sitting there. He's on the elevator. His guardian just died. I mean, it's not this particular scene, and all of a sudden, the elevator opens, and it's freaking Kelleran Beq, badass motherfucker, comes out of nowhere. He looks like he did not fucking come to play. He says, yo, I got you, baby Grogu. Follow me, homeboy. We're going to go ahead and make it through. He turns around and persists to give the most dope fucking redemption of a freaking lightsaber battle with two lightsabers. Mind you, he didn't come onto that scene with two lightsabers. He picked up that lightsaber because it had just been dropped by the motherfucker who had got killed trying to work with with Grogu. So he's not like Ahsoka Tano, a dual wielding lightsaberer. He actually picked this up. Remember the first thing he picked it up and then he hops on the lowrider, rides off with Grogu, and he's like, yo, it's cool. I got you, little man. I got you. Which is another question we got to ask is like, is this happening to every foundling, every youngling, or is this because they know that there's something special about Grogu? He finally gets him to the ship. Grogu's like, holy shit, damn, look at goddamn Coruscant. It's hella busy out here. Yo, it's going to be a rough landing. And we also see the freaking Naboo ship, man. The freaking, listen, they know how to pull at my heartstrings. I know for some folks, nostalgia is an easy play to use in the realm of Star Wars just to get you to kind of jump up. But if done correctly, not in a Boba Fett kind of way, which even I'm gonna, we're gonna have to have a talk about Boba Fett because I've been watching it a little bit again, and I may have changed some of my feelings about it. Maybe not Boba Fett himself, but the show itself. But in this particular episode, it was refreshing as hell. And there's some reasons why this is much more refreshing. As Yaz has already alluded, this is not just any old character. This is actually Ahmed Best, who originally was Jar Jar Binks, who I frankly think is the entire reason the prequels didn't hit the way they were supposed to. And I think so. I think that if you have a different Jar Jar, I think that we look at everything different. I stand on that hill. I truly believe it. I think it was his corniness, his voice, all the things above, and that's fucked up because ultimately that ended up weighing on Ahmed Best. And this story meant so much for him to now come back as the one who not only is a dual wielding, force wielding, lightsaber holding badass, but also is the guy who really went through a lot as it pertains to his introduction to Star Wars. Imagine you get the role as an actor to be playing in Star Wars, one of your favorite movies, and the role that you get is to play Jar Jar Binks, who you're told is an integral part of this story. You're told that your life's about to change. Everything is going to be much better. This is going to make things pop for you. And then you start reading all the reviews. You start seeing how this has impacted the movie, how folks are literally taking your character and using him to smear the entire movie. And that put my man in a dark place, a really dark place. And he talks about it a little bit here. Let's take a look and see what he's hollering about right quick.
City, and I would see the towers when they were there, and I would look at that and say, oh, human beings did this, and it would make me want to keep going, keep moving. So I wanted to walk across the bridge with my son. Then I got to this point on the bridge that I hadn't seen in a long time, and it was really the reason why I hadn't walked across the bridge in 18 years. It was the spot where I almost ended my life. I grabbed my son and my phone and I took a picture of that moment. The reason why I almost ended my life on the Brooklyn Bridge was because 20 years ago, I played Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars. I faced a media backlash that really made me feel like my life was over.
Now, I know that when most people criticize something on the internet, that...
Let's just talk about this. So here's a guy who basically was being told, was in the mindset of, holy shit, I just got cast in one of the most notorious franchises in the entire world. And I am a black man who is being used. Let me say that the wrong way. I'm a black man who is able to join the cast of the likes of Steven Spielberg, George Lucas. I'm alongside Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor. I'm in a cast with Samuel L. Jackson, Natalie Portman. You know what I'm saying? And he is reduced to just being the fool who's CGI'd with the weird voice and the tongue hanging out. And that ends up haunting him. Worse than it did Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Worse than it did with George, whatever his name was, with the first Superman. And that makes this dude want to take his own life. He was in such a dark place that he was like, shit, why even live anymore? Can you imagine like going from, oh my God, my life's about to change, to fuck life, I don't need it no more, for the same exact reason? And so to see that happen to this guy, who looks like just the coolest dude ever, who even KELLERAN BEQ's character once was it's not his first time on the screen. This was used in a children's show in one of the Star Wars kids shows where he was originally introduced. To see him now come full circle and to not just be included in an episode, but in the highest ranking, all right, I know it's debatable, Star Wars show to date, because it has multiple seasons, unlike, other shows. And not only is he just a guy, but he is the guy that saves Baby Yoda, that saves Grogu. He is now KELLERAN BEQ, savior of the Grogu. And that's his canon going forward. And that's where he came from, though. He came from being this dude who was not even thinking that his life was worth keeping because of the Star Wars that he wanted to be a part of so much. So in that story arc, I'm like, whoa, that increases the level of significance of, if not the show, this character, this scene, this entire selection. Jon Favreau and Carl Weathers deciding that this must happen. We got to give this dude his play because he deserves more than just being reduced to one character. As we see, he now is given, I believe, one of Star Wars' greatest redemption stories. Now, I know that don't mean nothing to everybody, but for me, that in itself is like heartwarming. You know what I'm saying? And I can only hope that he gets even more screen time, that we maybe see him a little more, that his own arc is introduced, that this little path that they keep giving us, these Reese's Pieces crumbs with Grogu's flashbacks, involves whatever his story is. So, I mean, Ty, does that Ty, I don't know if you knew about all that, but does that add to the level of significance that this episode kind of brings to the table, or what say you about that? Then Tyrone, we'll get your opinion.
Yeah, so of course, I want to give him his flowers, and of course, anytime you're able to overcome a traumatic situation or an obstacle and come out on top, a good redemption story is always what we want. Makes you feel good inside, right? But with all that being said, could you put up that picture of him when he first seen Grogu in the elevator real quick? One time for the one time. Listen, if I'm needing saving and the elevator door opens and I see this man, I'm scared out of my motherfucking mind. I don't know about you, but I'm like, I'm not going with you, sir. You look very scary in this moment. Your eyes are as big as it's like, yo, yes, yo, that fierce look. That look like that makes me feel like I came in after the lights came on, after the street lights came on. That's that look that you in trouble look. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like I don't
right
even
after
want
Order 66, they were being killed by their fellow armymen, and yeah, he had a look.
Listen. Whether you're being killed or not, I'm saying is in that moment, I'm scared shitless.
Yeah, stop. Don't encourage this shit, yes.
I'm scared. What's
wrong?
Yes. Yo,
stop it.
Listen, that's not the only time. That's not the only time.
I'm sorry.
I was laughing. I was laughing the whole time you was putting that up because I've seen this look before. And I know, but I'm not gonna do him like that. But I just know that if I saw when that elevator opened and you got that fierce look, I'm like, which street light came on and I didn't know about it because I was on my way home. I was on my way and I thought I would make it. I'm so sorry, Daddy. Please don't beat me. That's that look. And I mean, look, I don't know. There it is again. There's that look again. There's that look again. Look, I'm telling you, you don't want that. You don't want those problems, bro. You don't want those problems.
Tyrone, what the fuck is he talking about, man?
I mean, he does look like he's about to give you a whooping, but like, yeah, he definitely got those eyes. But
got them I turn eyes.
I think it's a beautiful real life redemption story. I think that the redemption story for Ahmed Best like took place in real life and is gorgeous. And I think we will, and I do hope that we see more of his character because why not? We'd like to jump back to Order 66. We have there's plenty of places where this dude could show up, and I think that would be amazing. The redemption story, as beautiful as it was in real life, I don't really think affected the episode for me very much. It was just like, okay, this is a fun scene.
But I mean,
like I just want when I watch an episode of TV, I'm like, okay, I'm here in this episode of TV, and let's see if it's good. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it ain't. And I just don't think it's been very good lately.
All right. Well, I hard disagree. This season right here,
Tyrone has been very hard to impress lately.
Well, listen, I'm glad that everybody isn't on the listen. I don't often quote religious leaders, but Joyce Meyer said if two people are always in agreement, then one of them's not necessary. So I'm glad that we often have multiple viewpoints because once again, and I stand on this hill as he stands on his, that Tyrone is not alone in this viewpoint. Like if you go online right now and you just look up Mandalorian, you're gonna see on YouTube a whole host of people saying exactly the same shit Tyrone is saying. So it is not foregone that he is 100% representative of a category of mindsets.
I do want it to be known that I don't care about those people and who's agreeing with me or not. Like I just have my I just want to let you know. I'm
not trying to lump you in with folks. I'm just saying that Tyrone's his viewpoints here are not unique to Tyrone only. And I know Tyrone doesn't care about anybody else, and I'm not trying to say you should. But I am saying that, listen, just as I'm sitting here and I'm geeked the fuck up about this episode, and I will continue to be, because I thought this episode was hella dope. I love it. It gave me every fucking thing Star Wars. There was everything Star Wars about this episode. It gave me the nostalgia with the Naboo ship, gave me lightsabers, gave me the Force, gave me Jedi. It gave me, even we saw clones that were, and what's the difference between clones and stormtroopers? If you notice, clones don't miss like that. They was dropping them motherfuckers.
I do
You
like
know
live
what I'm
action clones. Like whenever we get to see live action clones, it's fun. I like that look.
Hey, okay, see, and then in addition to that, we got to see an introduction to another a concept of Mandalorianhood, which is legit biological fatherhood, which I didn't know was a thing. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that was a thing, that you could have a Mandalorian baby. You know what I'm saying? And just indoctrinate him from birth. I do think that they're going to have some problems because they did.
They have entire royal families.
Yeah, I mean, this is true. This is true. But I mean, the
find out
royal
that the
families
armorer is
from
a cult
priests
leader.
are different from the from the Mandalorian children of the light that are actually brought into the fold.
Not how they're made. They're all made the same way.
Hey, oh my God! God damn it! It's a family show, bitch.
We're gonna find out that the armorer is the baby. Loki, listen. Why is it any different? Anytime there's a cult leader, right? In any other movie, and it's a man, he's over here fathering all the kids in the compound, doing all kind of little stuff. Now we got a woman armorer who this is the way. I'm just saying. Like that. Listen. What I'm starting to understand is this is the way is the term that you use when you want to end the conversation. So when they're like, the armor is like, come into the mountain, and then they come into the mountain, and then she's like, all right, now take all your clothes off. They'll be like, hold up. She's like, this is the way. And they're like, this is the way. And it's like, yo, it's that look. What? You don't get no blowback that way. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's questioning you once you say this is the way. I'm noticing that. Like anytime somebody says this is the way, your only response is this is the way. So you don't get to say no at that point. You don't get to voice your opinion at that point. And even when you do voice your opinion, they got some shit for that too. They say, don't talk about, what is it? They don't know. Don't speak about what you don't know or something.
Yeah,
what do you say?
One doesn't speak unless one knows.
Look, that's another way to say shut the fuck up. You just shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up right now. Like, so in that moment, once the armorer gets you in that cave, there's no other way but this way.
So you saying that it was more like a, so where do I put my Sex Pistol?
No, we gonna find out.
How do I work this handle?
No, she's like, I'm gonna draw you a map. This is the way.
Because remember, the armorer tried to save what's his name? Ragnar. She tried to save Ragnar in the first episode, and Paz tried to save him in the second episode. Paz actually let us know that he's the baby daddy, but the armorer ain't told us yet that she's the baby mama.
And
I'm telling you, watch.
Right, she did tell Grogu. She did tell Grogu, come on, let's go, when they got back and they made their way. You know what I'm saying? Like, as soon as the ship landed, she's like, Grogu, come.
You know what? That vision we saw could be how Grogu deals with that type of experience. Like, she started touching Grogu, and his daddy wasn't there, and he didn't know how to experience, and he went into one of those submersion.
Yeah.
No, listen,
y'all going
real dark.
You're taking a little too far there.
It got real dark.
Listen,
don't worry. I've accidentally.
Grogu is 875 years old, y'all. Y'all gotta stop, man.
Hey, Todd, this is the way. One does not speak unless.
Must have the safe word on him.
But anyway, yeah, man. I did think it was funny that that at first when Ragnar got took, everybody, I mean, it seemed like they was kind of calm about it. You know what I'm saying? It was like, all right, let's go get old boy. You know, whatever, it is what it is. And it wasn't until they saw him in the nest when he was like, yo, hold up. He's like, that's my son. He's like, he's just now your son? You know what I'm saying? Like, when he was took from the beach, he was like, oh, shit. They normally take the beach.
Yeah, lost another one. Yep.
You know, we can't fight.
I ran out of gas.
No, he was like, don't shoot the youngling. He'll kill the youngling.
Yeah,
Remember,
he did say
that.
But he also was like, yo, I'm on E right now. You know what I'm saying?
Like, I'm out of fuel.
You know what I mean?
That was,
I gotta hit the Sunoco. You know what I'm saying? And then, Kreese flies by, whatever. And then, so they go a day later and find little Ragnar, and they're like, oh shit, he's in the nest. And then he's like, oh shit, my son, and he's like, bitch, he was your son yesterday. Like, all of a sudden, you want to like get all emotional about it. You know what I mean? I did think that it was interesting. Go ahead, yes. Sorry.
No, finish.
Please.
No, go ahead.
This is the way.
I'll go. I'm just kidding.
Right, I'll go.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
so I did think it was a little funny to like for me being a woman that the men immediately just decided let's and jetpack after fucking pterodactyl because we're gonna be able to fucking catch him, and then Bo-Katan's like, I'm gonna get the ship. Yeah. Okay. And then
that is a good point.
I thought that was like just classic, you know what I'm saying? I was like, yo. And literally as they were like, I was like, why didn't they just get in the fucking ship like that? And then she goes and gets it, and I was like, this is why women get shit done, bruh. Because men, they didn't even think that shit through. They were like, we're gonna do this. And then halfway through, we're like, oh no. It's running out. Right. Yeah, that was
hilarious. That is actually very
significant point because that speaks
right.
again to Bo-Katan's training and the untrained individuals that are on this island. Like they're just reactive. Everybody just reacted. That's why they're in need of leadership. They don't have any real leadership. Yo, like you said, Paz got there and ran out of fuel and was like, they always get this far. Like, we just lost another one. Right. So I'm wondering what number child is Ragnar on the list of Paz's children? Because he's listen, because as a father, Vince, you know this. If we ran out of gas, that doesn't stop the journey. I'm gonna move until I can't move anymore to try to get my child, even though I may not make it. I'm gonna go until I can't go no more and like fall out type shit. He ran out of gas and was like,
he was done.
Oh well.
Yep. He was like, well, I tried.
He was like,
and then you see the ship. He's like, oh, thank God, someone smart enough.
Somebody thought to get the ship. Yeah.
Well, I don't think that it was a bunch of Paz's kids. I don't know if he's out Nick Cannon in the freaking universe, but I do think that there were. I mean, the first thing you see when you get to the nest is there's other helmets up there. So obviously, Beskar does not have the best flavoring. Shout out to Vico Freely. We answered that question earlier. We think that they procreate the same way. It's just they don't take their helmets off.
Yeah, they're clinking
during sex. It's kind of like back in college when I used to keep my stocking cap on. So you keep your stocking cap on? I was like, yeah, I'm trying to, keep these waves up, But it is funny because it's like Ty. Imagine Ellie, or Prince, gets, somebody hauls off, and all of a sudden they drive away they're driving away with Prince. And Ty starts running after the car. He starts running after the car. And he's like, and then like Amy pulls up and is like, well, get in the car. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why you ain't get in the car in the first place? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's literally what happened. Like, all the Mandalorians were like, all right, man, we're going into action. To infinity and beyond. And then Bo-Katan's like, I have a ship. Anybody? But, I mean, in their defense, I don't think they're used to having a ship, number one, which is a problem in itself. I know
they don't get to that planet.
They don't just jet rocket the fuck off the planet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's not where they started.
Yeah.
They might have crash landed there and like the ship's just fucked. You know what I'm saying? Like, we haven't seen it.
Yeah, Returnal style.
These are kinds of things you could really find out if you did stories. Whoops.
Yeah, okay. Good job. And then the other thing is they don't have the keys to that car. What they do? Hey, quick, Bo-Katan, throw me the keys. You know what I'm saying? Bitch, I don't know you. Do you have a license? Have we ever explored that? Like, are you even able to drive in this sector of the galaxy? Like, I don't know, man. The police, they don't get down like that. They already tried to pull Mando and Grogu over in one episode. So, yeah, but you're right, though. It was intuition. And to Ty's point, it actually does illustrate why Bo-Katan is useful in this realm, because she actually has the wherewithal as a woman, as a leader, as a member of the Mandalorian Creed's royalty, to have the sense to go to the car and to go after the kid. and she didn't even like go gung ho Rambo. Like I believe that if Bo-Katan was to hand the keys to Paz Vizsla, that he would have went right to the nest and got ate up. But Bo-Katan was like, "Look, I followed him to the nest. I see where he's at. We'll go get him all together as a unit." And then on top of that, when they went to get him, she's like, "We're gonna land over here because we don't want to be too loud. We're gonna walk up quiet. We're gonna keep it like she did. She general freaking what's old boy? What's the clone? What's the clone's name?
General Grievous.
Nah, not General Grievous. The clone. I forget his name right now. But,
Oh, Rex. General Rex.
Rex. Yeah, Rex. She General Rex the fuck out of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta give her credit, man, because I think that's the story that is not being given enough credit. Is the rise of Bo-Katan in this Mandalorian season 3. What's up, Ty?
No, that's what I mean, you said it. That's basically what I was saying before. Is her this whole episode was obviously again focused around Grogu and his experiences and his transitioning into a Mandalorian, but also the fact that she is now accepted into a family again. So now she feels connected. And also they're in need of leadership, and that was shown all throughout this episode, even all the way up, not just to her saying let's crawl up them, but even up until they got into the nest. Before she jumped into the nest, she was reviewing. She said she told Paz, because Paz just jumped in. She was like, wait a second, but let us figure this.
Like,
everything was calculated. Everything was what a leader would do. And it's all set up for her to take over this section of the Mandalorians, and also, again, connect with this side of the Mandalorian culture where she was against before, where it was this whole keep your helmet on and we're going to go by these rules and da da da. For her to say this is the way, that lets you know that she's starting to get indoctrinated into their ways.
Well, even before she said this is the way, she was like,
she kept her helmet.
How do we eat without our helmet? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to fuck this up. Talk to me about this shit. I mean, you're right. When she's walking through, I don't think she was just scoping everybody and like, oh, he'll be a good. I think she was also like, oh, so this is what's going on out here. This is what this type of Mandalorian gets. This is how y'all get down. I think that the element of what you're saying is true. That she's also like, yo, I don't got no army. My people left me, and these motherfuckers right here, they look like they doing what they doing. So that's cool.
She just needs to train them. That's all.
I've seen it on every movie, every war, every type of movie like that like spotlights, generals or Spartans 300, all of that kind of stuff. Like whenever you see the general walk across a training ground, it's them like spotlighting, what their armies can do. Like these are formations, and this person is good at hand in hand. We got archery over here. We got same thing with Game of Thrones. Any movie like that, you can kind of zero in on that, and that's what I saw in that moment. I was like, oh, okay, so this is the setup. So she's like she's going to be the one in charge. It's everything is leading to that point. So
I think that if this season was to be titled, it would be titled like The Rise of the Mandalorians or something like that. Like this season, even if it is developmental, because Tyrone's right about one thing, we do not have a central antagonist. We don't have a Moff Gideon. We don't have a General Grievous. We don't have any like major conflict right now. It's really just an episodic tale of the journey of Bo-Katan, the journey of Grogu, and even a little bit of Ragnar as to their quest into the religion, so to speak, of Mandalorianhood. So I think that's what's going on. But I will agree with Tyrone on this. I mean, I love this episode. I love where it's going. The last episode was the only one that I was like, all right, cool. And that's the one I think he liked the most because of the story. But I think that at the bare minimum that this is starting to pan out to develop more of a Mandalorian scope rather than a Mandalorian focus of Din Djarin. And I think that's what this season is meant to do. It's meant to kind of broaden the universe of Mandalorian as opposed to keep it centered focused on Bo-Katan, on Din Djarin. I'll say this and then we can move on real quick. As they did go and rescue little baby Ragnar from the mouth of, as this Tyrone calls him, the pterodactyl, I did think that it was interesting that they took. I mean, I loved the action sequence. I love seeing jetpacks. I love seeing. I don't know if you noticed, but the same weapon that Boba Fett used to wrap Luke up when he was out there on Jabba's at Jabba's floating ship when they were by the Sarlacc pit. Same shit that they used to use to close up his wing, which I loved. Again, you got to look for these Easter eggs, man. And then like they had,
I see them.
You see, okay, so then you also got the fire in the beginning that they were using the fire at each other and all that shit. But then he uses that same weapon, takes down the freaking the pterodactyl, and then they proceed to go back to the ship. This is where it gets a little tricky. They brought back these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we brought more foundlings. Foundlings? You need orphans? Motherfucker, you just killed their moms. You know what I'm saying? How you think
technically they didn't kill the mom, okay? Like they just took her down. The fucking alligator thing killed the mom.
Oh, this is
if you really want to get technical with it, okay? And Bo-Katan, she's like a good, person. She just brought them orphans, to the other orphans so that they could, they could be like mended in one. You know how like Mando has baby Grogu, you know what I'm saying? Like foundlings are gonna have a pterodactyl, okay? Like
I don't know about all that, but that's a good point. You are right. They did not actually kill him. I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't think about that. I mean, I would say that they injured her to the point where she did end up having him. But yeah, man, eventually, the next thing you know, they're feeding three little baby joints.
Look how cute and ugly they are. They're
What's up, Ty?
I'm starting to see a little bit of a consistency here. I don't know about you guys, but Boba Fett has him a creature. He's Mandalorian. We have seen a mythosaur, which apparently is a creature that was idolized or worshipped or whatever the case may be on Mandalore. Now we have these three whatever pterodactyls that you have that are now going to be added to the Mandalorian team of train them up to be whatever. I'm starting to see this kind of consistency with Mandalorians and these creatures, having these creatures, and maybe that's maybe that they'll play an integral part.
They're gonna be their attack weapons, dog. Like they're gonna be their ships and shit. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why she was like, well, if they're orphans, why not take them home? These motherfuckers don't have nothing to use for transportation if they like train them to like properly. Bro, you got flying, eating, tacking. Look what that thing did. It swallowed people and then regurgitated them. Like I could hold someone captive for a day and then regurgitate them and you know what I'm saying? That's some Boba Fett type stuff. Like I'm just saying.
That's some stealth shit. That's some stealth shit. You could travel from there. Nobody would know you even in there.
Nobody. Yep, just it's done. Show up. Pull up on the spot, dog. Not even dripping, like nothing. It's clean.
Oh man,
yo, but she's right, bro. I mean, this is some Khaleesi shit we're watching in action. You know what I'm saying? So you can already do the math and see episodes from now, or even a season from now, once they've trained up little what were the names of I can't remember all the names of the House of the Dragons, but now you can already see Bo-Katan riding in on one of these motherfuckers. Some of the other Mandalorians riding in to attack using these creatures that they're about to train up in the May of the Mandalore as their mode of transportation. So yes, we're starting to see.
I can see like 5 of them on top of that.
I said I really hope not. I hope they just get hungry and just take care of this problem, and we don't see these things again. I hope we don't see
couches on their back, bro, and 5 people could ride on that thing. Like, okay, put a couch on there, and one little stool.
Put a couch.
I mean, go to the video of it flying, the mom flying around real quick.
Like, because the mom was big. Like
right, the mom was big. Like, so if you think like, look how big, and then like do the one where soaring, like flying and stuff. Like, you could put a couch on the back of like in between the wings, bro, and like 4 people could sit on the couch. Look at that. That's a lot of area right there. They could have one at the top, just like
I don't know why they insist on fucking with the wildlife. They're all gonna get killed. Like, why do y'all keep doing this to yourself?
They're the first frontier people. What you mean? They gotta mess with the wildlife.
Well, look, man, let's not act like Luke and Han didn't ride on a Tungi.
But Tauntauns
What about the Manta?
I mean, those were like domesticated. That was something that was, that was already a thing.
Yeah, and let's not act like in the first Mandalorian season, like he didn't ride on one of them little ugly ass
Panthas, they were
mouse
so
things,
cute.
you know what I'm saying, or whatever.
Yeah,
They
they
use
did a whole
animals
process of
all
like
the
breaking
time.
them like horses and stuff like that. It helps to make it make sense when you add like context to it instead of just being like, hey, I guess our foundling rule applies to chickens too.
Well, and another thing too, it's not like they have stores at this like place that they're at. So how are they gonna go buy ships or make them? You know what I'm saying? Like they gotta outthink stuff. So she's like, okay, if I get some things that can fly and you just have to feed them, like, come on, this is super simple.
My question is still, how the hell do they get to this planet if they don't have ships? But
They could have crash landed. Remember, they could have escaped and crash landed.
No, they didn't. No, let me dispel that crash landing idea. So, when they first went there, Den had coordinates to this location. The reason being is because they had outposts all over, and he said that like they have like these little safe zones or safe places that they could go and whenever there's something happen. So this was one of those posts that he spoke of. When they first arrived there. So this place that they're at, that this was already established a while ago, and they just came there when they needed to. So it's one of many supposed ports or whatever you want to call it.
Fair enough. Well, I think that makes some sense. I don't think that they are. I think that there's a parking lot somewhere that they haven't shown yet that's clearly being guarded by some animal. And hopefully they chained up their bikes because goddamn, man, these motherfuckers. But yeah, man. So I look at the end of the day. I'm loving the development of this season. I love the fact that we do get to see more stories that involve what brought me into the fold, which is the Jedi. I like the fact that Grogu is still kind of, I mean, he started off this episode still trying to wield the Force, so he's not just gone full Mandalorian. I still think that he's going to be our Tar Vizsla, he's going to be our half Mandalorian, half Jedi, and I think that that's going to start rearing his head. And not to mention the fact that there's something else that happened in the last episode. Grogu says, Din says this is the way, and then Grogu says, and they both look back and was like, is he trying to talk right now at the tender age of 50, 51? You know what I'm saying? So, and then we saw in this one, Ragnar is like, hey, look, man, one doesn't speak unless one knows. And then even his dad says, yes, one doesn't speak unless one knows after he loses his battle. And now we're learning that Grogu is trying to speak. So foreshadowing, all right, as we progress, we'll start to see a more auditorially developed Grogu who will actually start to speak and use words. And with that, he'll start to become more like his Pop Dukes, the actual Mandalorian that everybody really fell in love with in the first place. So looking forward to seeing where this goes. Hopefully one day we'll all be on the same page with it. But for right now, shout out to Carl Weathers for directing what I think was a great episode. And big shout out to KELLERAN BEQ for reviving his self and not necessarily having to have those nightmares of being somebody who unfortunately dang near killed himself just for the sake of not getting the reviews that he wanted about the character that he dreamed of being anyway. So moving right along though, man, there's a couple other things going on in the universe. If I'm being honest, I didn't see this movie. It came out last week. One of us did see it. I'm just want to ask Ty, since you're the only one that saw it, honest opinion, bro, what'd you think about it?
I think it's a fun movie. I think my expectations for it weren't high at all. And so the expectation for this, I don't know what people's expectation really was for it, but I mean, just going into it, looking at it as a fun movie, it was fun. It gave you everything you would want out of a kid's movie. It gave you the dramatic moments. It gave you the moments that maybe forced a couple of tear jerkers. I mean, a couple of tears to fall. It wasn't anything. It wasn't anything like a Marvel movie, and it wasn't anything that you'll be like, oh, this was great acting or great writing. It was just a fun movie, and I don't even know how to describe it. But if you were to ask me to rate it, I would probably say I would give it somewhere around 6.5, 7. I think it was decent. It was definitely it's definitely worth a watch. And there's some fun that happens at the end.
All right. Well, I happen to think that Shazam before this came out was one of my favorite DC movies. If I'm being honest, I just thought it was so dope how they finally made something funny. But then freaking Chuck started talking, and it's hard to separate sometimes when somebody's talking, and you're like, "Come on, man! Like, what are you doing?" I mean, it does seem that the critics did have a worse time at the theater than the actual audience did. So I think Ty is on point there. But I mean, Chuck, I call him Chuck because that's the role that I knew him as the most. Y'all remember that show Chuck where he still had
Oh
that
yeah,
role?
yeah. You talking about Shazam? It's Chuck.
Yeah, yeah, Shazam, yeah, Chuck. I call him Chuck. But yeah, man, he's out there. He's says stuff about Pfizer, which is his right. But I mean, when you start talking and you split the ideals of the audience, you're like, all right, I don't know what he's talking about now. I don't know if I want. I mean, the whole J.K. Rowling thing. But yeah, he clearly doesn't do that well, and as a result, he starts talking, and now he's out talking again. Like he's this dude. Like I'm noticing a trend with DC. They don't know how to shut up, and that includes James Gunn. Like this dude is out here just doing the most, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, I mean, just to give you, I mean, he. All right, look, well, here, just let me give you an idea of what he's out here saying. First of all, he's trying to blame because the movie's flopping right now. It's not doing that well. If I'm not mistaken, I think it used I think about 90 to 100 million to make, but it's still like in the 60s in terms of his reach. But then like he's just literally just saying things online that are making him look like an evasivist, or whatever that is. Like he's not necessarily taking it gracefully. I don't know. You could argue that The Rock did, or you could argue that he didn't. But I did have this article here, which maybe I can show you real quick, where we actually get a reply from him. And here's something that he said as well. Let me see if I can get this up and make it so that it works. So check this out. Oh, whoops. I got to do this in order for me to
friend David Sandberg, myself, everybody, we had a awesome scene that would have tied me in to the JSA with Hawkman and with Cyclone, and we were thwarted. This is not me. I'm not talking about these things as I'm trying to blame anybody for our movie doing however well or not well it's doing. I am merely coming to the defense of the people that ought to be defended. I'm coming to the defense of truth, because truth is good, and we should all live in it, guys, even when it's hard, even when it's something that might fly in the face of something that we already might have believed before, and now it challenges whatever our idea or our opinion is. We need to live in the truth, okay?
All right. So whatever that means. Sometimes when I hear that, I think, which truth? Like, because nowadays everybody has their own version of it. So I don't know. It just feels like weird, and as this article described it, cringe. As the kids say. And he's just trying to like defend this, the movie that evidently just didn't do so well. And I feel kind of bad a little bit, but not too bad, because I'm like, yo, look, man, these things happen and you're going to be okay. But I really felt bad because he tried to like lobby himself to get a role in the next Last of Us. And it just looks really bad when you're kind of selling yourself on Twitter, you know what I mean, to try to get a role, especially when you don't get any response from the people you try to lobby to, and then ultimately end up deleting the tweet. So I don't know, Ty. I haven't seen it yet. I'm planning on still seeing it because like I said, I'm a fan of the actual franchise, believe it or not, of Shazam itself. But for whatever reason, man, I get the feeling that he is to kind of blame for a little bit of the stuff that happened with this movie. Do you think that his performance in the movie, since you're the only one that saw it, okay, I did not push that. I don't know what's going on, but whatever. Do you think his performance is a stellar one? I mean, is there anything in the movie that makes you say, you know what, man, there's nothing bad about his performance that makes this movie not palatable?
it's I think I think people have different expectations maybe, and so depending on what type of expectation you come into the movie with, you could be disappointed if you're going in there like I'm hoping that this is going to be, and maybe I would put more of the blame on this. This is where I would put the blame on. You decided to bring in Helen Mirren and also is it Lucy Liu?
Yes,
What's her name?
Lucy Liu. Yeah.
Lucy Liu. Um, these are older women um that you decided to make the antagonist. Um, they
Mm.
Helen is Helen. Helen is great. She's always awesome. I don't know that I would have chose her for this role.
Mm.
Just because she's so, not to say that this I wouldn't have chose Helen Mirren for this, and I wouldn't have chose Lucy Liu as her as the character. So I'm just gonna say that maybe people who like Lucy Liu movies and like Helen Mirren movies came to this movie with an
Right.
expectation, some great acting performance, and when they didn't get that, because you get these names that are so large, there's where the disappointment is. And again, DC has got it, they're digging themselves out of a hole right now. You got rid of Henry Cavill, you got, you're getting rid of people. um there's a lot of blowback with that comes along with that. So it, we already know how Shazam was taken the first time. It was a fun kids movie. If you take your daughter to go see it, you guys are gonna have fun with it. I have watched it with my kids. They had fun with it. I had fun with it. It's not a movie to take seriously at all. It's not, if you're looking for great acting, don't go see this movie. That's not what this is. This is just a fun movie. Just having fun. That's it. That's all
Mm.
you're gonna get.
Well, I will check it out, and I still haven't seen Creed. I mean, I'm still behind on a lot of movies, man.
All that
So
too.
it sounds all right. I want to hear about all of that. We'll probably talk about that at length a little later. But for right now, man, you're right. I think that folks may have higher expectations because I think I was standing alone on the hill saying Shazam was really good. The first one, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked the entire. It was just so different from all the rest of the DC movies at the time that were
It was
trying to
fun.
portray Man of Steel. Which Man of Steel, I still think was really good. I still think Man of Steel was warranted. I still like the way it ended. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. I like how he had to make that decision, which set him aside from all the rest of the Clark Kents. And I even didn't think that I know I'm alone in this. I'm literally alone. There's nobody else that feels that BVS wasn't as bad as everybody else is making it out to be. So I'm so I'm waiting to see how this works out. But there's one movie that's coming out that we just learned is actually going to be coming to theater, coming to a screen near you, maybe not theaters. And this movie right here embodies two people that, dare I say, would jolt all of our memories, and that is Keenan and Kel, as they have now been tapped to play in the new Good Burger 2, baby. Oh yeah, yes sir. And you know what I'm talking about. If you was a Nickelodeon head like me growing up, then you already know it's time. It's time for us to go ahead and take part and witness what I think is going to be one of the glorious comebacks of this upcoming year, man. I don't know if y'all watched Keenan and Kel like I did growing up, man. If y'all watched all that, if y'all were Nickelodeon heads, man, if y'all did the Nick thing, bro. Hi, welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? You know what I'm saying? It's happening, bro. It's happening. It's doing the Avatar thing where it's like 20 years late, but it is what it is. It's happening. So, yes, Keenan and Kel were these dudes.
Yes, dude.
That used to
I know what Good Burger is. Stop playing games with me. Okay. I've annoyed my mom with that movie so much. Okay. Like, stop playing games with me. I know who they are. I watched all that. I'm a 90s kid. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, this is true. This is true. So yeah, man, this used to be a thing back in the day. Keenan and Kel basically were Nickelodeon royalty. These dudes literally came from show to show. If I'm not mistaken, they started out on a show that was called All That. All That had Keenan and Kel and a whole other cast of characters. At some point in time, it had Amanda Please. It looks like Pete from Pete and Pete was on there. Lori, what's the name, was on there. And then I think they even, in one point in time, incorporated Nick Cannon. I think Nick Cannon was on the show for a little bit. So yeah, man, this show definitely it was sketch comedy for kids. And back in the day, man, Nickelodeon was all we had. I mean, it was before streaming services gave you options to actually pick what you wanted to watch. We had to go to channel 36 for me and see what it was. And I mean, there was cartoons in the morning, shows at night. They had this thing called Schnick with a big orange couch where you would come at six standing for a Saturday night Nick. And I think it was like all of that. Are You Afraid of the Dark? A whole bunch of stuff like that. You know what I mean? And those joints was my joint, man. So I love the thought of Keenan and Kel kind of circling back to each other after all of the years, because I honestly, I can't speak for y'all, but out of those two, I would have thought that Kel would have been the one to take off. Tyrone, like I thought that when I'm watching Keenan and Kel, when they're on their show, I'm looking at Keenan and I'm thinking, yo, Keenan's cool. He's kind of funny, but Kel is hilarious. And so it was kind of weird to watch him not pan out the way Keenan did. Is that just me, or what was
No,
your thing?
I was always a Kel guy over a Keenan guy. But to be fair, Kel's still popping up and doing his thing. And he was in like a Black Lady sketch show a few times. He was in, I want to say maybe an episode of Atlanta. But there's like he's been popping up here and there. And whenever he does pop up, like he's funny. And he's doing funny shit. I think Keenan got a reputation in like the business for just being like a really easy person to work with, and just kind of like being like an all around good guy. So that reputation got him hired in a lot of like long-term jobs. So yeah, that's I think it was more kind of Keenan probably was a better business person, and kind of learned to navigate better in the entertainment world.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. Ty, did you watch Nickelodeon growing up, man?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was a Double Dare fan and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Double Dare.
So I definitely watched Nickelodeon. I don't know if I don't know how well Good Burger 2 at this point in this stage in their careers is going to be as successful as
It's gonna be like Coming to America too. It's gonna be a good laugh. It's gonna be like
yeah. I don't think it's gonna do numbers. I don't think it is gonna be like a classic, but like Good Burger was. I think it'll be a lot of reaching. And yeah, I personally am one that likes certain classics to stay classics, and just come up with some new writing. Don't just keep on recirculating these same type of ventures. Good Burger will go down in history as a classic because they were both kids, and it was funny for them to act retarded, like what I'm saying, and act all crazy, and that was cool to see. I don't really think two mid 40-year-old men acting like that is going to translate the same way.
What if they what if they end up
like to become annoying? It starts to become annoying. Yeah, if I gotta listen to Kel in that voice at 45 years old for more than 30 minutes, I'm probably gonna get annoyed at some point. I would be like, all right, like yeah, I'm cool. But
what if after Mondo Burger they ended up like owning Good Burger, and now their kids work at Good Burger now, and they're having to teach them like the ways of like welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? You know what I'm saying?
To your point, yes, you bring up a good point, because they actually have already given us a snippet of what or a clue as to what the actual plot is going to be about. So I think I uploaded it. Let me see if I have it here. Yeah, here it is. So evidently the plot of this movie is Dexter Reed, which I believe is Kel's character right here. All right. He's down on his luck after another one of his inventions fails. Ed comes back. Welcome.
No,
oh, sorry. Dexter's Keenan. I'm sorry. Dexter's
Keenan.
Keenan. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dexter's Keenan. So Dex goes back to work at Good Burger, and Ed gives him his old job back. With the new crew working at Good Burger, Dex devises a plan to get back on his feet, but unfortunately puts the fate of Good Burger at risk once again. So yeah, I think we have now. Just to be clear, this isn't going to the big screen. It's going to be on Paramount Plus. All right, so we're not going to be any tickets sold to this movie. It's going to be a streaming event only. But I think it will be refreshing to just kind of see the two boys, the two men back in order. I mean, some would argue, all right, look, I don't know, what are we saying? That there's a black man who wants to base his whole career on basically being Calvin for the McDonald's commercials in the 80s. Oh, one day you're going to own McDonald's. Yeah, I know. One day. I don't know if you know about that, yes, but there was this Calvin thing. It was like Calvin was walking through the hood.
Calvin.
Like, there goes Calvin.
There goes
Hey,
Calvin.
So
Calvin
I heard,
was working at Mickey D's. Like,
yeah, he's like, Calvin, so I heard you was gonna own McDonald's. He's like, one day. You know what I'm saying? It was like this whole like this euphoric like way of thinking. Like he's passing by dudes that was on the stoop. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh shit, hold on, here come Calvin. Yo, what up, Calvin? You know what I'm saying? It was funny. But so yeah, man. I'm looking forward to seeing the two revitalize, shall I say, their old roles. But this just kind of brought me to a place where I just could not help but think about how dope Nickelodeon was and how much it meant to us to have a 24-hour channel devoted to kid stuff, whereas before that it was Saturday mornings only, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so I did something, man, and I want to see if we, in our last few minutes, if y'all want to help me get to know our brethren right quick. One of our friends, Tyrone, has actually submitted some questioning and tells us what his favorite Nickelodeon shows were coming up. So if you don't stop acting like a mother, if you don't, there you go. All right. So he actually showed us. I asked him what his favorite Nickelodeon shows were back in the day, and I'm wondering top 3. If Yaz, and I know Nolly had to go, she had something to tend to, but real quick, Yaz and Tyrone, do y'all think y'all can help me tell the world what Tyrone selected as his top 3 favorite Nickelodeon shows? What say you guys? What say you? Let's get some guesses in here. What
I'm gonna say Doug.
Doug? Incorrect. But I'll give my top 3 after this, and we'll see if that ranks about that. Tyrone, bad Ty. Any guesses, bro?
I was gonna let Tyrone answer since you said Tyrone.
You did say Tyrone's gonna answer Tyrone.
Tyrone ain't gonna phone himself.
His favorite shows on Nickelodeon. Like I wasn't like that into Nickelodeons, but I'll try this.
One of them was really popular, so.
There was one that was a girl show. Like it was like her, and she had a friend with blonde hair, and she had brown hair.
Clarissa Explains It All.
Is that nah? Is it nah? I don't think it was
that. Was
that
ABC, I think.
Nah, I'm thinking Nickelodeon. This
Talking
is
about
not
Ass Tool by Ginger.
Nah.
I don't think it's the show you're talking about, though.
It's not a girl show. All right, I'll give you a hint. One of them on the list is an animated show. Let's say that.
On Nickelodeon.
Animated.
Two of them are animated.
2 of them are animated.
On Nickelodeon, Rugrats.
Yes, sir. Rugrats. Tommy and the gang, bro.
Y'all remember the song that Blackstreet and Maya dropped for the movie?
Yes.
Oh, that was dope.
That's the jam right there.
That was
Yo,
the jam.
Chucky is scared, Tommy is sad, feeling a little missing the mommy and dad. That was a real song that they put on the fucking radio.
Is Kablam another one?
No. Oh, that's a good guess though, man. Nah, it wasn't Kablam.
Okay.
But you're barking up the right trees here. It wasn't Kablam. We do have Rugrats already listed.
Rugrats.
Now, all right, let me give you a hint.
Go ahead.
One of the other animated ones starred a wallaby.
Wallaby? What the fuck?
I feel like it's a little bit of a deep cut.
Yeah,
I don't think so. All right, these two clearly didn't do the Nick thing.
Yeah, I didn't watch Nickelodeon like
that.
I did, but like, I got CRS.
All right. So this one, let's say it was set down under.
Okay, so Vico says SpongeBob.
Yeah.
No.
You said
no,
down under.
I see where the down under came from. Thank you, Vico. Vico, in one for the win. Yes.
Technically, Nolly won that one. Technically.
Yeah, Vico is now getting the, you know what I'm saying? Hey, one time for the comment section pulling on up. Yes, Rocco's Modern Life, where his best friend was a cow, and they would basically walk around just talk about what he would do all day. I mean, this was SpongeBob before SpongeBob was SpongeBob, if you
That's
ask
true.
me.
Yeah, this show was funny. Like this
Yeah,
show was
it
like
was.
real funny. You could look up clips now and still laugh. Like the jokes were so well written on this show.
Well, it was a little. I mean, what I mean, it was a funny show, but it was also, I ain't gonna lie, like it was a little. I feel like it has some very adult things,
Yes.
not like from a
Yeah.
salacious
Yes.
point, not like from like a bad point, but just like a, you know,
Undertone.
I don't understand these jokes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like if you watch some of the shit we used to watch as a child again now, you're like, oh my god, that's what. I didn't know that's what they were saying. I think Rocco embodied that a little bit. This last one, I'm just going to tell y'all because you're not going to guess it. It was a show called What Would You Do? All right, it was a game show. And tell us a little bit about it, Tyrone.
Man, this show was just absolute bonkers. It was hosted by a dude named Mark Summers, and they would just have kids on there, and they would do like obstacles and quizzes and shit like that. And it was my dream to be on this show. Like as a kid, I was like, man, if I got on this show, I would pick the boogers out of the pig nose so good, and I would slide down the slime slide and just kill this shit. I would break records. Like yeah, you remember that show? Like, yeah, they would be like, pull the flag out of the nose with the slime in it. Like it was just nonsense. It was all nonsense, but it was like it was kids Jerry Springer, and I loved it.
Jerry Springer. I mean, I don't know. It was like Kids Wheel of Fortune or something. I don't know. Kids Gladiator.
Like, because every now and again somebody get punched in the face, so you know.
Oh yeah, that part. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a follow up to Double Dare a little bit. Shall I say? Not necessarily the same theme, but Double Dare was more family. They had the whole family, but I think What Would You Do just did the kids, which was really dope. But yeah, Mark Summers, like there's a documentary right now on Hulu that goes into the Hulu, like the Nickelodeon background, and Mark Summers was like, he's like such a carefree dude. Like he's like, fuck that shit. Back in the day, like I was like, y'all, I don't give a fuck. I'll do this shit. You know what I'm saying? And he like spills all the beans. I recommend anybody who watched Nickelodeon back in the day watch it. All right. But just in case you were wondering what some of my favorite shows were on Nickelodeon, Yaz did allude to one of them. It was Doug and his little quest with Patty Mayonnaise, who was like a tan little something. Doug, I just had the little raspy voice and shit, you know what I'm saying? And he was bullied by a dude that was green. Like, it was people of color, but no black people, oddly enough. You could argue that Skeeter was like Caribbean, you know, because he used to have these weird foods. He would eat beep, beep, and he made these weird noises. So he was he was all on top of my list. Also on my list, I don't know how anybody could deny that Ren and Stimpy was freaking mind-blowing.
Yes.
It was the best cartoon, hands down. It was crazy as hell. Ren was nuts. The whole argument of whether they're gay or not, you know, that was a whole thing. You could definitely argue that they probably, you know, who knows? I mean, they're both, you know, animals, so that's a whole
They got away with some stuff on that show.
Yeah, oh my God! Like they slept Ren would play the role of the husband and Stimpy, but when they went to space and Ren had space madness and he started eating a bar of soap, my love an ice cream bar. How I love to chew your chewy center. How I memorized episodes of Ren and Stimpy, man. So that's how deep that goes. Wish we had more time to talk about it. But the final thing, and I'm going way back on this one, to the origins of Nickelodeon. And frankly, I don't even think Yaz has ever heard of this, but it was a show called You Can't Do That on Television.
Oh, wow,
this literally made me love TV. This is where we actually met Alanis Morissette. She was a member of the cast. I don't know if you could see her right there, but there she is. So before, everything was ironic. Everything was all about slime, this, that, and the third. And man, to see kids on TV getting slimed ended up being Nickelodeon's whole entire the lore, the legend. It was what made Nickelodeon. If you were in the Orlando area as I was when Nickelodeon Studios came down here, there was a whole slime waterfall out front of the Nickelodeon Studios. And they used to give us tours. We would go as field trips down to Nickelodeon Studios to check that stuff out, man. So if you did not get, if you were not a part of the Nickelodeon culture coming up, you missed out on one of the dopest cultures, man, because Nickelodeon, if I ain't going to say so myself, definitely was TikTok before TikTok was TikTok. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying about that, man. But anyway, as for our show today, I think, unfortunately, we're going to start winding down, man. But definitely, please make sure you guys tune in, not only to us wherever you're watching, but also on our audio stations. We are on audio with iHeart, also with Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, and we're on YouTube's. We're also on the Twitters and the TikToks
and the Instagrams. Please be on the lookout, as in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 weeks, we will be joined by, once again, Yvette Nicole Brown, who is on Fuego. She's out there. She's got that show with Kim Whitley and Tisha Campbell called, well, we'll let her talk about what it's called. I think it's called like grown, yeah, actor age. She's been she responds to almost all of Nolly's tweets, and she's just been a gem and stuff like that, man. So we'll definitely be getting up with her, and I'm gonna go try to watch Shazam if I can, and I'll let y'all know how we feel about it coming up. And next week we will be live at MegaCon. Yaz has got her fit. Tyrone's gonna sit in New York. Yaz has got fits on deck. Tyrone's gonna probably hopefully be our wedge starfighter and jump into the X-wing and jump and be our leader. Tyrone Bad Ty might be coming down, but Steph and Ty are gonna sit in the seats, and we're gonna sit there and we're gonna bring y'all MegaCon live along with Nolly. But as we always say, guys, be yourself, your authentic self. If you're not being yourself, then you're being fake, and ain't that true? And if you're gonna be yourself, and that includes being a geek, then please go ahead, let that geek flag fly. Let's hit him with the classic Joan. Let's go ahead.
Street Fighter 2, I just really hate Zangief, only Ken and Ra 2. I find it hard to be Blanca, keep a wee ninja hanging, and our uncle album banging. If you negative in energy, then stay out the vicinity of, yeah, them niggas over there, yeah.